Hi, my name is Rhonda Kitchens, and I'm going to talk to you today about website versus web pages, the Google Advanced Search, what it means to do a great search in advance to make sure you have the best possible results, how to evaluate those results, how to look at a website and determine whether or not it's credible, useful, up to date, and all those types of things, and most importantly, is it a website? Or is it a web page? And this is for Donnie Arnett's class, ENG 101. My name is Rhonda Kitchens. I'm your librarian, and you can reach out to me anytime you choose to do so. Today, I'm going to start out with bigbend.edu, go to Academics, and select Library. I am not going to be talking about the library catalog today. I'm not going to be talking about all of databases A to Z, actually none of it, because I'm going out into the internet. But if you need me to talk about these things, you can reach out to me. You can sign up for our Wednesday webinars. And the way that you can get a hold of me is I'm the person right here. You can write me, you can come see me in person, or give me a call at this number. I'd be glad to set up an appointment for you. We all learn in different ways. I'm going to be making up some topics as we go, and it may not be as complex as your research question. And I love hearing about your research questions, so please reach out to me. So we're not going through this, and we're not going through that, but I actually do this as a live class. And I base this live class on a page that I created. So if you come here to research, come to class guides, you're going to be looking for ENG 101, Donnie Arnett right here. And this is going to be class number 2. Evaluation, Google Search Advanced, and Anatomy of a Website. I'm going to select this page, and here we go. So, as we're working on this, we're going to see, hang on, I'm just going to go back here for a second. Okay, let's kind of flip through there real fast. Hang in there with me. So, as we're going through here, I've put over here all the links that I think you will need. I have the Google Advanced Search. I have it in 2 different places. I also wanted to make sure you knew how to spell these because I had to think about it. And the spell correct really wanted to put some dashes and other things, but per Grammarly, website is one word, web page is 2. And after you go through this, if you could go to this page and provide instruction feedback, I would absolutely appreciate it. I'm going to be putting this video somewhere in here as well to make sure we have this all together. And this is the major part of the presentation. Again, my name is Rhonda Kitchens, Rhonda K at bigbend.edu. I would always love for you to like the Facebook page. I share a lot of information and things that are happening in the library. Now, the first thing we're going to look at, like I said, Google Advanced Search. We're going to talk about the anatomy of a URL, website versus web page. We're going to describe, analyze, and evaluate parts of a website. And the group work is going to, at this point, be kind of my work, but you'll be looking over my shoulder. Here we go. Now, .org, when you see that in a URL, guncontrol.org, it would theoretically be attached to an organization or association, likely in the United States to be a 501(c), meaning that they're gathering money to spend money, usually in a similar billing cycle, to promote, persuade, support, or do other types of activities. And when you're trying to determine things like credibility, though therein you might find their bias. Bias isn't a measure of good and bad. It's just they may believe more of this than the other thing, and this is the emotional or the support or the monetary value they're putting towards that object. A .edu will be only assigned to schools. This is actually very hard to get. I tried to do it a few times. They are not playing. I'm just saying. A .edu is generally hard to get, at least in the last decade. So when you do search with this, you're going to find, of course, you could find things from your middle school and your school reading list for the summer. But more important, places like Harvard and other types of places are putting together data universes and data sets and all these rich depositories of information, data, statistics, and research anyone can search. They're open resources. Sometimes they put free copies of people's papers and research on these depositories for free. So using the .edu is a very deep web way of finding hidden and sometimes what they call the dark parts of the web that are of the more educational variety as opposed to the criminal one. .gov stands for government. The government is one of the #1 collectors of information on this planet. They have stats about various things: labor, crime, education, how many people have a TV in their house, people homes. I mean, the census information, all sorts of things coming in at all times, and that is a public information that we as taxpayers own, and they put it out on various different pages that generally end with .gov. We're going to be looking at the cdc.gov, which is one of the most large, vibrant, and I have to say beautiful websites that is composed of many web pages, including the infamous mortality or morbidity report, which if you're a true crime or forensic type person, you would find utterly delightful. Now, I have misspelled military. I hate to tell you how many times I've done this and not realize I misspelled military. .mil. Now, there's all sorts of information and products that you may find out from this. The .mils, the military, actually produces a number of journals, periodicals, studies that if you have something that has something to do with that. And in this Truth, Lies, and Trust, you may find all sorts of things about persuasion and understanding if an enemy is lying or not, or who knows what type of information if you limit your search here. Now, a .com is going to be commercial. I sell my artwork. I have a .com. Amazon is a .com. Places that are generally for profit or trying to persuade you in some way, or sometimes .com will be something like Twitter.com or Facebook. They're commercial sites, and they have various missions and needs to reach out to you, either wanting your money, your support, your belief, or whatever may be appropriate. All walks of life can possibly have a .com. Few people can have a .ed, .edu. Some people might get a .gov. There was a time anybody could get a .org. In fact, I think I owned one sometime in the early parts of the web, but it has tightened up, and the .mil is super tight. .com, almost anybody. And now we have things like .test, .art, actually own the .art, but they're all variations of a commercial statement. We are actually going into Google to do the advanced search, so I'm not going to go through this. But one of the reasons I'm talking about this here is because they actually explain it on this line, because you can use this to search here to search a word. Do you feel me? You can, instead of just randomly seeing what comes up, you can control the type of information you see. So your need to evaluate can be eliminated or narrowed down by doing a strategic search from the beginning. I bet you like the sound of that. We're going to be talking about the anatomy of a URL because it kind of tells us what we're looking at. And sometimes things are kind of hard to understand because the composition of a URL isn't always this straight ahead. Sometimes there'll be like speeches.thequiche.com, and speeches will be like the path. You'll be going to the speeches. This, when you see question marks, hashtags, and all that, that shows that that's a search. Sometimes these will resolve correctly, and sometimes they will not. The thing is, they may not resolve as the person who shared it with you thinks it would, because the things in the search domain will change. But in general, this piece here, right here, this piece here is the website, and this would be the web pages, and this would be the search results from the web pages. You may not get me, so this is going to help a lot. Now, a website is a collection of web pages. This is important for me to tell you this because that your assignment, and please look at your rubric and assignment, needs you to find a website and not a web page. Most of you are very accomplished at finding news articles, pieces of a blog, magazine articles, just pieces of things. But finding a website is a different level of search and understanding its pieces. They're sometimes compiled multimedia, PDFs, audio files, sometimes all on the same pages. So I have built this image that I hope helps you. A website is a city. It includes the clouds, the stoplights, and the streets, and the addresses. A web page is a home. City, website. Web page, home. I further giving these pieces. If you provided this to your professor in your works cited, this whole thing, you have provided her with a web page. And she wanted you to review a website. See the difference? This whole thing is a web page. It goes to a travel section in 2016, sometime in June. The title of the article is, but this is a website. See, it's all red. Website, pictures of poisonous plants, web page. This old house, this is a city, lots of things in it. This is a page filed in an idea section called the 12 Deadliest Garden Plants. Website, city, lots of things, traffic lights, clouds. Web page, home. See what I mean? Big, varied multimedia. One page of perhaps any number of multimedia, but not the city. This particular assignment wants the website. And your professor wants you to understand that. Now, when we're finding these, I can own a website. In fact, I do. It's a .com, just to let you know. However, the CRAP test is one of the ways we looked at the information when we find things. This is very vague, and then the next page I'm going to tighten up in having to do with the internet specifically. Currency is the timeliness of information. This is called the CRAP test, C-R-A-A-P. Currency, relevance, accuracy, authority, and purpose. Currency is pretty easy to understand, but when it comes to websites, sometimes the data is hard to find, and I'm going to talk about that. Relevance, does the information support your research question? Are you finding what you need to find on truthiness, which is one of my favorite words created by a late night talk show host. Truth lies in trust. Does this information support what you're working on? If you're working on Instagram and reality, does this information actually talk about and engage you with that specific information that's in your research query? Accuracy is the source of the information. Authority is going to be the bias. Who is writing this? Sometimes with the .org, it's the .org itself. There should be transparency. Who are these people affiliated with? What did they write it? Was there more than one person? Is there a lead author? Have they written other things? Who funded it? Do they have an ethics statement that says they will do this one thing and not the other? And finally, what is the purpose of this information? Why was it written? Is it written to sell, to persuade, to introduce, to inform? Find out these things. I don't think inform's a word. Inform, however, is. So we'll go to the next page. We'll get more specific. This is my internet web page specific, though website probably would have been better for this particular thing. But you're going to be looking on a similar way. Currency, is it current? Is it up to date? Does it provide a history? Does it check the footer for copyright? Are the links current, outdated? Do they go to information? Do they actually connect? Are current blogs or news shared? Sometimes a web page, one of the websites will be the news or blogs or things that keep it updated, and in the world of search keeps its SEO very high, so that all the search algorithms for the search pieces like Google, no, it's up to date, alive, and someone's caretaking it. Relevancy. Does this information provide information on the topic or add to it? Does it engage your question? Does it support it? Does it inform it? Does it help you build a persuasive argument for or against it? Does it let you know about people who do not believe in your stance on this topic? And can you understand their points? Very important. Accuracy. Was this viewed by peers or editors? Is just one person out there putting out there, or are people looking at it, managing it, checking it, and making it go away when it's no longer useful? Sometimes a web document, instead of your traditional bibliography, will use links even inside the text. And that counts if that link works. If they stated 92% of the people who do the following thing have a peanut butter allergy, and it links to a study that says that's current, that is accuracy, and it does support the authority. Authority is also driven by the .com, .org, .edu, .mil type thing. Does it have mission statements, ethics statements? Who are the publishers? And who are their credentials? You're looking for transparency. Keep in mind, credible does not mean right. You can have a gun control.org. Everybody should have a gun.org. And if they keep it up to date, they let you know what their funding is, they let you know about their bias, they're giving you their mission statement, they show you how they've spent their money, which a lot of 501(c)(3)s have to have that level of transparency. You know who to call, you know where they're located, you see what they do throughout the year. They'll give you an indication if they give out grants, who they give them to, if they take in grants, what they wrote it for and why. There's going to be a lot to purpose, authority, and the information should be up to date and relevant. And even though these two .orgs are opposites, they can both be credible. So I'm going to end it. I cannot ask you any questions through this thing, but do reach out to me. And now I'm going to go to how we look at different things. We're going to look at this Google Advanced Search. See, I gave you all these tips here, but guess what? This search gives them all to you. I like the Google Advanced Search better because it's still a Google search, but it gives you the things that you might forget. Hey, when you're doing research, just use the important words. Those are called keywords. When you do a search with a phrase, put it in quotes. This also works in opposing viewpoints, ProQuest, and other searches. The or statement also does. That's when you string together synonyms. Dogs, pets, or something like that, or marketing, branding, advertising, whatever things may, instead you don't want to search each word, you can search them all in a string at the same time using or. If you want to get rid of something, you put a minus in front of it. Guess what? You could do the same thing on a database, and it works in Google as well. You can change languages, regions, and other things. You can also change domains. I'm going to throw in an edu. I'm going to put in, hopefully something will come up, some of the main things you're working on. Lies, trust, and truth. I'm not putting anything between them. I'm only using the most important words. And I'm going to go into my advanced search, which hopefully will bring me back .edus. I don't know that a .edu is the best. I'm thinking .org maybe, but let's find out. And you can also go with some .coms, which of course may be very, very useful. Oh, this is awesome. We turned up a repository in University of Pennsylvania .edu. Let's look at this and talk about what it is. So, this right here will be a web site. This is a page of content. You see all this information. This tells you it's a search. This kind of gives you an idea of what type of search code is in there, and it's in their repository file. So if your professor was asking you for a website, this would not be a website. It's a web page in the University of Penn.edu. They happen to have a repository where they publish scholarly papers in the Scholarly Commons. And that sort of thing is a very interesting topic when deception breeds trust. I bet one of you may want to find that. I'm going to go back to this. The definition of lying and deception. All right, this is actually, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy is really great when you're trying to define some of these terms. So I'm glad this one came up. Guess what? This, stanford.edu, is the website. This is kind of how our search came up. This lets us know they filed it under entries, lying definition, but it's under Plato, which is the name of their Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Now, this is going to have an amazing amount of credibility. It's published by a philosophy department in one of the major Ivy League universities. You can see that it has, if they say something, they're giving you citations. They have author and citation information, academic tools, bibliographies, and if we come down to the very end, we'll see that we can contact them. The copyright's old, but it's a reference source. It's not working with new, so this, in this case, would probably be acceptable. It talks about their editorial board, even tells you how to cite it, which is very beautiful for a website, by the way. But in doing that search, we're able to turn up something credible. We do understand that stanford.edu is the website, and we are using a part of the web pages in that system. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now, what's good about lying? We'll go there. We'll be getting a lot of colleges because I use a .edu. So this is the website. This is the web page. And your piece will be looking more for these types of pieces. So I just want you to know what one thing is versus the other. This happens to be a magazine inside of the Berkeley website. Web page, website. Okay, so I hope you can see, actually this is like really good. Actually this search may not be very bad, people. Truth, lies, and trust. Throw in something that may be more pertinent like social media, families, or something like that, and this might be a pretty interesting search for you. But I hope you can see by doing a great search and kind of already putting in what we think is credible and useful in our search, we don't have to go, the evaluation for our resources, we don't have as much junk and it's less to go through, and we're able to spend more time on working on our search queries instead, which I think is a better place. So I hope you understand that part. And I'm going to go back. So that was, I'm sorry, I just skipped right over. Let me go to the course guides. And she's number 2. Sorry about this, guys, in case you get lost. Class guide, English, Arnett, go to class 2. That was my presentation. So we went through that. So you should understand all these pieces here. And I'm going to talk to you about the CDC. Now that the CDC.gov is a website. It contains web pages. This is a credible and beautiful example of what a page looks like. You want your page to have a logo and identification up where you can see it fairly immediately. A really great site will have a search and an A to Z and some type of index in that area. A lot of times translations, English, French, Spanish, etc. links will be here, but in this case they're on the very bottom. It's going to have a navigation bar. Usually this section here is a slider. That means it has slides that go through and it highlights up-to-date information. These sections are going to be news, blogs, PR pieces, things that people need to know, but they should be up to date. The links should work. They should be, oh, look at this, pig-eared dog trees. I'm sorry, that kind of caught my thing, like, what's that doing here? It's an actual, these are great leads to other credible sites or credible information inside. It's going to be it's going to be up to date and have a little bit of everything. This talks about the pieces. Remember when I was talking about if you're a forensic person and you want to know how people pass on or want to see a report about how people die, so to speak, this morbidity and mortality weekly report is the report for you. It's under the CDC.gov, one of the most read government documents there is. Now this is a footer. The footer is going to give you all your information in terms of contact ethics, and copyright if this is a credible, wonderful page. Here I can call them, I can talk to them, I can email them. I see the about thing, I see their funding, I see their policies, I see how I can expect privacy issues dealt with within here, and it's going to have a little bit of everything I need. And I need fresh social media. I have all their links and how to get to them, and that is what a fantastic website looks like. If it's missing some of these parts, some are slightly forgivable, but transparency, being able to reach people, up-to-dateness, good links, professional look, where it looks like when you see one, I don't think one's listed here, it may be in the about, that there's an editorial board or formal process that talks about what is published. You know that it's super excellent, and you can mostly get the information from the top and the bottom, and if you don't, you might be looking at a page, at a blog, or some other piece of information. So I'm going to go now and talk about these websites, and it's going to be kind of fast rather. Website, web page, or something else. And if you were live with me, we'd be doing this in person, and we'd be doing groups, and you would get together and talk about it. So this may be a little rapid, but I hope it will help you with your assignment. So I'm going to go into this. The National Health Lung Association, let me get rid of you, the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. You'll see that I know who it is. I have a logo. I have things that help me get to the pages. This is a website. This is a search box for me to get to the pages in the website. This is the up-to-date information. It is called their pieces, their news. I can look here, and I can also do the search bar, or I can browse going through other news. This gives me some health topics that are used a great deal for people doing research in this area. You can also look at the health topics. This talks about their core mission areas. This says, hello, I have authority, and if I have links, you will also see my accuracy. Yes. Clinical trials, grants and training, explore their strategic vision. So we're going to know their mission statement. Right here, we can see their division, offices, centers, meet the director. We can look at the map, we know where they are, and we can get in touch, and we can contact them about their information. They're going to have privacy policies, copyright and usage. I could not find a copyright date on this, which is a flaw because you would not have one to put in your citation. So, but nonetheless, I could tell from the pieces, the links, and the up-to-date information, though it doesn't have that new virus up here, but I don't think that's a long, hard issue. It's to be determined. But those are great questions to ask as you go along. So, this is a great website. Let's see what we have next. Asthma. Ha! And this is a curveball. This is twitter.com. Twitter.com is a website, is a social media website, and this is actually a search of asthma inside of Twitter. You would like to think, perhaps, that this is going to be an utter train wreck, but you know what? It's not. This is actually a great search. It may or may not be helpful for this project, but I want you to know that searching Twitter is a great way to come up with new information. Now, we don't know who this person is. We might go to their page and figure out their real person, who they're connected with. Some people do work as anonymous or use other names. But the information they connect to, or their links or their videos, may be connected to people with authority, and it's kind of a way to do a search to get a better search. For instance, this is awesome. This person, Jane, let's see if we can figure out who she is. Jane is a PhD candidate. She works in these areas, and she just published her dissertation, and it's a systematic review and meta-analysis in the evidence-based pantheon of what has the most evidence and the most value. This is the tip-top piece. Now this I would not cite. I would go to this page and read her paper, and that is the value of this page. You may not have seen it or known somebody who's working on this type of article if you had not seen it here. Now this I can tell you right off, seeing who owns it, it's going to ask you for $45. So what you would do is ask me to get it for you on interlibrary loan. Some of these might be personal, but part of your research may have a personal edge to it. Maybe some of these people have discovered a way to deal with things in a different way. This actually helped me find a blog that's not horrible, and she often shares things that are up to date. She shares things from the government. She shares things from scientists. So she's an interesting person to follow, unless you're writing about some of her personal experiences. This may have no use, but the things that she finds and shares with you may have one. Sometimes people set up search Google alerts or something like that to kind of keep up with searches. You could do the same thing with hashtags on Twitter. Twitter is an awesome search device. Twitter.com is a website. These are individual pages inside of it, just to kind of let you know what's going on there. And let's go to the next one, Thermo Fisher Scientific. This one's a little hard to parse out. The next two are. Sometimes you really have to look at them to see what they are. We see the .com. This US, what this is saying is this is in their English homepage in the United States, but they are a website. These are their web pages, and their web pages include products to shop for. Now, they can entirely be an ethical, awesome medical equipment group. It looks like they're trying to share things via a learning center. They're trying to provide support. Some of these places do offer opportunities for people to get things for free. It is not to say that a .com is inherently good, bad, or evil, but you need to look at it and try to figure out where this one falls. You could do some research to see if they've given out money or done different things. This talks about their application and brands. We see their trademarks, their responsibility statements, their careers. They're talking about trainings in their blogs. You can contact them. They're very transparent, so this might be on the higher order of a commercial site, but you understand their bias is selling these particular products, but you can also see their effort to try to educate. So you might want to, use and beware. Just understand what you're looking at. It's not the CDC.gov who tries to be somewhat objective, but this group may do so as well in their own way. So, but it is a commercial site, and it is a website. We're going to look at asthma.com. And what this ends up being, let me close this. And this is tricky. In a way, we saw the previous was kind of upfront about who it was and what they were doing. This is hidden who they are. It's also a medical group, but it's acting like a newsletter or, come test your asthma and this type of thing. And it does have a journal, but it's acting like it's not what it is. It has a .com. It is trying to do different things for you. It is very upfront. It has to be as funded and developed by GSK, so it's not a random blog. These aren't helpful tests that may not try to bring you into more information about their product. Again, understand what they're doing and try to determine whether or not they deserve your trust and how they develop this by putting themselves sort of on the back end. Like, how do you feel about that? New Life Outlook. This is the website, but the asthma is the web page. And this is very specific. It looks like sort of a bunch of collection of blogs that are very helpful. We have videos. It's not entirely up to date, but there is a 2019. Let's kind of break it down. Sometimes you can get rid of the web pages and go to the website. And when it turns out, this is a chronic condition, social media kind of blog place where people share and learn from each other. Now, you're going to have to think about how you're using your information, the value that you're going to place on people that are out there taking control of their chronic condition, the things they use and why they use it, and why one thing may work over another. So this might be a really wonderful place to discover something very useful, or it could have like a user beware type thing. They do have partnerships, which may or may not pop up some ads or points of view. We may not know that a blogger is actually working for GSK or another group or an influencer. That may not be entirely clear to us. So it's user beware, but again, it might be something very useful and have value according to how you're going to use the information. And finally, we'd already talked about my life as an asthma mom, because she's all over Twitter and she's all about covering and sharing information about asthma. This is a blog. She is not a medical person. She's caring for 3 children and she wants you to avoid the pitfalls. She is providing you with her copyright. She's been doing this blog for 10 years. She's won a number of badges and she's linked them so you can go in and determine whether or not these are useful badges or just glamorous. When she does her work, she doesn't always cite it. She doesn't always have information where she got things. Sometimes she will link things like, did you know that? And then she'll link to something that will be useful that you can look at yourself. I notice like sometimes she'll put some, she does some capital letters. That's kind of a thing. Cold temperature. She talks about Twitters. She's getting this off a community that's in an asthma organization, a .org. But then she's putting her personal spin on the information that she finds and shares. Somewhere in here, this is not cited or credited. I do not know where it's from. It could be personal information, but it's also useful if you're looking for information on inhalers and understanding that they don't work because people don't know how to use them, and you might be able to find that at another place. So this is not a website, it's a web page on blogspot.com, which is a common place people can build their own free personal blogs. And it will be that type of information. It's going to be personal information. It's going to be from her point of view. She's going to be reading other information and rinsing it through her personal experiences. And that has value in different types of ways according to what you're writing and what type of research question you have at hand. If you're trying to figure out, say, the truth in asthma advertising, and then you find out a lot of people on the blogs and Twitter have been having side effects because they talk about it very loudly in these different forums, this type of information, real people, might have a great deal of value for you. And also, I believe I was talking with a professor about doctors and how we believe them. You can find a lot of personal information about how people measure doctors or the things that they've been told that didn't go well for them. There's a wealth of information in social media, but there's also a strong bit of information in science and data in something like cdc.gov. So relevance is dependent upon your research question. So I hope you understand what a website is, a web page is, how you may look at something. Relevance, when we're measuring the usefulness of information, is on a sliding scale, just as is currency. So make sure at the end of the day, it's your research question that answers whether or not something has value. And when you're looking at these pieces, there's different ways they let you know if they're a good or a bad player in the information marketplace. So I'm going to go back to the pages. I hope this is helpful. I would be very happy if we'd go back here and give me instruction feedback. That would help me out a lot. If you have any questions, my name is Rhonda Kitchens. You can reach me. The footer, I'm going to get rid of this, people. You will be so happy with what I'm going to replace it with. Here, Rhonda Kitchens, and you also call me. I can also do a Zoom or some other thing with you, email, phone, whatever works for you. I'm your librarian, so use me. Have a great night. The ending of this might be a little rough, guys. I'm sorry, my button at the end's kind of hidden. Wow. Okay, we'll fix this.